Hi people, this is your boy Robert Quest here with another video, another anime discussion video. And today we'll be discussing, is RWBY a good leader? Yes, is Ruby Rose from RWBY a good leader? Now, as she first enters the world of hunter and huntresses, she faces enemies of her caliber. These enemies build up courage for Ruby to have a light in her eye to overcome her physicality and stand her ground as always a warrior or remnant. All people need a leader of some sort, even become a leader of their own. We see in Volume 3 of RWBY. RWBY is well into her leadership role and faces the first of her real challenges. RWBY has led her team to a fighting tournament that has the stakes of world popularity and perspective at hand. This is a big step up as the reputation of hunters and huntresses teams are going from local to world known. The young RWBY has to be an adult and prepare for competitive combat. Although this is interrupted from an unexpected event which caused her team to be disqualified. Yang was framed for hitting Mercury mercilessly and RWBY's reputation was tainted. RWBY's response to this as shocked as everyone else, but urged herself and the rest of her team to move forward. However, more tragedy will befall on Beacon as the city was attacked by Grimm, and two of RWBY's best friends were brutally murdered, Penny and Para. RWBY was not able to prevent this, along with her sister's arm getting chopped off. What RWBY did do was severely damage Cinder Fall, the orchestrator of the events. However, this only happened because RWBY witnessed Cinder incinerate Para. As shock and sadness plunged into RWBY's soul, her silver eyes activated, throwing out white glowing wings from her eyes and blasted them at Cinder and a giant Grimm hovering outside. You can see this as a success on RWBY's behalf, but anger, sadness, and despair born from RWBY's innocence being broken because she physically experienced the death of two people she cared about was the source. Skill, experience, maturity, knowledge, wisdom, spirituality, philosophical ideas, development, and a solid will was not used. It was a trigger of a cruel and broken world on a naive and young adult that was responsible for the success. It could be only one similar to RWBY to be triggered like this. Although RWBY's inherited legendary silver eyes and ability that a good leader will definitely find great use to. After the fall of Beacon, RWBY learns more about her silver eyes from her uncle, not her blood uncle Crow. The response to it was not that much of interest, yet this innate trait can be an excellent asset for RWBY to initiate a powerful training for a powerful ability technique. RWBY's status as a leader changes because of this, only if she applied it through later volumes. In Volume 1, RWBY is an excited young girl who has a romanticized vision of becoming a hunter and huntresses. A girl with this mentality is appointed leader of teammates older than her. Ospen, leader of Beacon Academy, may have chosen due to her unique sight skills, leadership spirit, and mysterious silver eyes. Consequently, her older comrades Blake, Wise, and Yang follows RWBY orders loyally. Yet throughout the volume, what orders RWBY gave that qualify her to be a good leader? Surely she led RWBY to fight against bad guys who they originally were not supposed to fight in the first place. However, her orders were not unique of anything special. RWBY did lead them into doing something fantastic. They were breaking the rules and doing what they felt was right. Originally, Wise and RWBY had a bad start. Wise was a proud, spoiled brat of the Schnee family who owned one of the world's largest dust producers. She was mean and cold to RWBY, and RWBY being sensitive retaliated, caused arguments between the two. Eventually, RWBY has a conversation with Professor Ospen. The conversation consists of what it means to be a good leader. RWBY has a different perspective now and develops a type of relationship with Weiss. The two become friends, and Wise was a more suitable, sustainable, and to listen to RWBY. RWBY answered a lot of her friends' phrase as a leader should, and has to face a criminal known as, can't remember his name, Neo's boss. I think his name was L. No, can't remember it. And Blake's former allies, the White Fang terrorist organization. Looking through RWBY's battles, she does not display high intelligence or of wisdom. When asked to do what to do, she usually is unsure of her naivety and makes obvious decisions any leader can do. This shows RWBY was chosen to be a leader for a specific reason, not to our natural talent to be one. Sure, she's excellent at the fighting craft, but someone like Weiss, who's intelligent and comes from a high position and Blank with battle experience, are more qualified. But RWBY is a leader, and shows him none of this. Therefore, what makes RWBY a qualified leader? Well, RWBY is a child 2 years younger than most of the students. As a child, she is a newborn and unaware of what's really going on in the world. She has a naive, innocent, and gentle perspective on things and makes decisions based off of this. Her perspective is straightforward, honest, and simple, allowing her to be bothered, not allowing her to not be bothered by fears and consequences. She has a righteous approach to things where the goodwill overcomes the evil no matter what, and to keep a strong will all the way through. This is shown later in Volume 6 during the apathy episode, when everyone in the group lost their will to go on. However, RWBY was the only one to snap out of depression caused by the grim apathy. This proved RWBY has the inner strength and will of a true leader, and she saved everyone that day with the help of her former Grim Reaper, Maria. RWBY chased after Para in Volume 4. This was after she seen both her team and Team Juniper go down. RWBY was now in a position to take responsibility and help her comrade defeat the attacks of Beacon. However, she was too late. Maybe if RWBY would have gotten there sooner. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I meant Volume 3. But continuing on. However, she was too late. Maybe if RWBY would have gotten there sooner, her and Pyrrha could fall off Cinder and then escaped. Although these events did not take place, and RWBY failed to save her comrade, thus witnessing her death. RWBY's child's heroic and straightforward nature was hurt. As a result, triggered her sadness and anger, activating her silver eyes. After the events of Volume 3, RWBY decides to go on a journey to investigate the villains who caused the fall of her school and her friends' harm and death. Although this show does not show the process in which RWBY went through to make the decision to do this and are talking with Team Juniper about going on a journey. We can guess that RWBY felt a failure for not protecting her teammates and friends. She went in and thought and need to redeem her actions and go after the people responsible. Also, as a hunter and huntresses, RWBY should do this as she was doing while attending Beacon. Although, this seemed like a dangerous trip, since no one defeated the villains, but RWBY is going anyway. Her attending this trip and dragging Team Juniper with her is a bad decision, since they are not powerful enough to face her villains enemies. RWBY's determination and innocent heart is still intact, and she's going on the trip and once again dragging her friends and not even her own teammates into it. Team Juniper has more of a reason to go on this trip since their former comrade Pyrrha was incinerated by Cinder. RWBY recognized her mistake and apologized to John for bringing his team into this. This could be a step up for RWBY to be a better leader, but John interferes. RWBY does not stand her ground, and it's easily changed by John's perspective on the situation. A step up for RWBY is immediately shredded in the shredder. Later on in Volume 5, RWBY has no significant actions as a leader. She go back order her teammates to do obvious actions they can do on their own. RWBY does not display any great actions as a leader. She does order her sister to jump into a suicide mission, going after Cinder and Raven and Vernal, 3 opponents she definitely cannot beat on her own. This should not have been a decision based off what happened to Yang and Pyrrha in Volume 3. RWBY allowed Blake back in an event after she left Team RWBY. RWBY left her team back in Volume 2 and got herself kidnapped. Examples of a good leader can be Shikamaru from Naruto. So what makes a good leader? Confidence, focus, eye on the goal, skills to ensure victory, adaptive, fearless, has something to stand for. See things that are not seen by others. Intelligence, insights, care, and creativity. Strong will, someone always focusing on moving forward. The young beats the old consistently in the show RWBY. As in Volume 6, when Team RWBY argues with Crow on stealing an Atlas airship, then they actually do it and face off an Atlas general. In the last volume, RWBY and Juniper hide things from General Ironwood while arguing with him based on the decision for Atlas. Eventually, this builds up to them disagreeing with Ironwood to the point where he orders their arrest. This angered the events where Weiss had to leave her team, her older sister, Winter, as the enemy. RWBY was the main leader of all these complex situations going on, and she displayed her qualities as one while they happened. RWBY was strong-willed, stubborn, fearless sometimes, focused, cared, focused on moving forward and something to stand for, all in the wrong direction. RWBY's fearlessness repelled Ironwood ideas, but showed fear in telling Ironwood about Sane's immortality. RWBY was strong-willed and not fully trusting Ironwood, but not strong-willed courageously to tell Ironwood the truth about Ospen. Also, her will displayed weaknesses when Ironwood was making rational decisions. She was, as well as the rest of the kids, showed up no stone hearts, with Ironwood responding to the unfolding events in Atlas. RWBY and her friends let their emotions easily take control of them. If RWBY is really a naive young girl, or has psychological disorders, in Volume 6, RWBY leads the young adults in stealing the Atlas airship. This decision was made after an argument with her Uncle Crow. Crow tried to install a real-world sentence to RWBY and the kids, but RWBY backfired with statements like, blah 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 blah, and made Crow and the adult generation responsible, guilty, and absolutely unrighteousness. It was all because Crow disagreed with them breaking military laws, which is highly risky and out of normal action range. RWBY did not think once on what she decided was wrong or risky. She just knew it was the right decision, as if it was normal. In real life, yes, one has to break the rules to gain higher status, authority, and abundance. However, the ordinary person will not try to steal from Area 51. It is impossible, but still, that is rare. RWBY has no look back at the actions she was partaking. Did RWBY ever learn the rules of the world? Did Tai teach her and Yang these important tips in life? RWBY showed a path towards solution, and it did not end there. In Volume 7, RWBY and the gang reached General Ironwood. In the beginning, they cooperated, but RWBY decided to hold back key information because Ironwood could not be trusted. The team later on yells and downs Ironwood for deciding martial law because Mantle would descend into public chaos. RWBY is angry at Ironwood, but Ironwood was never told the truth about Salem. Ironwood gains a reason to not trust him and orders their arrest. RWBY is convinced leading her team against the ruler of Atlas and is fair and the right thing to do when she was responsible for hiding and holding back the full truth of Ospen and Salem. This led Team RWBY and Juniper to be public enemies. Now where did RWBY get this idea to disagree with our allies because they are following orders to keep the nation in stability? Was she born like this? Did you develop these precognitions that the whole world is wrong and she must do everything over time in her power to fix it? We gave her the right to judge the previous generations. Why does she reach the peace of reason, which eventually turned her and her comrades into criminals? Why is RWBY fighting? Is it because of her romanticized vision of being a huntress? Or does she look up to the older generation? Wait, no, that can't be it. She disagrees with everything they stand for. Does RWBY want to save the world? No. She goes against it as a criminal. What side is she on? She lives in her old world of righteousness. This has to be innate, since the show does not derive any connection. Ruby is a weird leader. She makes odd decisions and turns on the wrong people. Her leadership status is a 3 out of 10 in my judgment. From Volume 1 to Volume 7, there has been no upgrade to her skills as a leader. She still has the same mentality from day one. Let's say the authors wanted Ruby this way for a reason. Reason being to show Ruby's personality and stoic leadership development is to display Ruby's same core soul will overcome Salem in the end of the story. Salem has arrived in Volume 7 ending, so maybe Ruby was finally developed leadership characteristics that are new and better. However, this is Ruby, and the authors will write the story however they please. All in all, was Ruby a good leader? The answer is no. Ruby showed in most of the series that she is a naive, graceful, overconfident, and stubborn young adult. In 7 volumes, she has a chance. We will see in Volume 8. So, these are criticisms I had by Ruby in Volume 5. Ruby, at least one person got killed. That's what she says. Crow was leading them in Volume 5. Ruby was reading comments while her team was contemplating waiting in Volume 5. Ruby Rose was not harnessing her gift, her silver eyes. Ruby said we went to Beacon to help people, yet she says we never asked for this. Ruby recognized good people die. Ruby has weaknesses in the heart. Ruby learned from dead friends and does what they would do, which will lead them to their deaths. Ruby claims to do the impossible. Ruby worked with other people. Ruby was the second to jump in and got caught. Getting it out what you put in, something Ruby Rose does understands well. She worked hard to skip 2 years and being a young huntress. She goes on extra missions she was not external missions she was not ordered to do. She rose against authority so well. What she puts in can be from a crazy perspective. Was Ruby really crazy? She said to herself, "A huntress' work is way more exciting than a police officer. I mean, a huntress is a highly dangerous profession, and for a young girl to go into it because it is appealing can be symptoms of delusions. Well, she is a young and an honest soul. She makes sense because she sticks to her core self's guide. Yes, she trusts her enemies. She trusts her emotions. I apologize, which can lead to taking on a nation's army general to go to the same nation. Breaking the law apparently doesn't pop into Ruby's head at times. We see her and the rest of the girls, Blake, Yang, and Weiss, join on a mission to face criminals they weren't sent to fight. But as the series goes on, Ruby's side missions get borderline crazy. However, in her eyes, everyone that disagrees with her is crazy and not in the right state of mind. What rationality goes through Ruby's head? How does she really perceive the world and she dwells in? What triggers her decisions? The answers will eventually be told. We just have to wait and see. Thank you for watching this video. This is your boy RWBY Quest. Comment, like, and subscribe, and wait for the next video and enjoy. Peace.